You know, we were so busy last week getting ready for the fall festival that we forgot to make the announcement that this 9:30 Mass was only for a special group of parishioners. You know, every once in a while we honor special groups in our parish, the Knights of Columbus, the members of the Equestrian Order of Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, or a couple of weeks ago volunteers. So this particular Mass is only for a certain group, and I'm sorry we didn't tell you beforehand. And if you don't belong to that group, I'd ask you to get up and go to another Mass, okay? And that group is sinners. If you're not a sinner, you can stand up and leave. God help the person that stands up. We are here because we are sinners. And that's really the message of the parable Jesus told today in the Gospel. Again, the two caricatures that are mentioned in his story, his fictional story called a parable. The Pharisee was a sect of the Jewish faith, a small community of the Jewish faith in Jesus' time. They were scholars of the law. They knew the law backwards and forward. They studied the Torah. They could repeat it from memory. And they were the executors of the law itself. They made sure everyone else obeyed all the laws. And they thought everyone else who wasn't a Pharisee were just bad people, and some were worse than others, like tax collectors. That was the second character in Jesus' story. Tax collector was a Jewish man. He worked for the Roman Empire and collected taxes from his own Jewish peers. And naturally, all tax collectors are unpopular. But what these tax collectors did, they took a percentage for their own salary, a percentage that the Roman Empire said is your salary. But many of them took above that, took an even higher percentage, and gouged their own Jewish peers of more money than they should have. So they were crooks. Those are the two characters in the story today. I call the problem of the Pharisee spiritual snobbery. He thought he was holier, better than other people because he was high up in the Jewish faith. He would be a member of what we today would call the hierarchy. He knew the law backwards and forwards. But I really haven't experienced spiritual snobbery in our church today. I've been a priest 53 years and really have never come across someone who said, I'm holier than this person. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, so I'm holier than the rest of the people. I've never heard that. Or I belong to the Equestrian Order of the Knights of Holy Sepulchre, and because we help the Holy Sepulchre, the Christian shrines in Israel, I'm better. I've never heard anyone say that. Even people go to Mass every day. They don't say, well, we're holier than the rest of the parish because we go to Mass Monday through Saturday. So I'm very proud that I don't know of anyone who thinks they're holier than others. But there is a religious prejudice still. Not as much as it used to be. Used to be Catholics and Protestants didn't get along at all. For example, I remember when I was a kid growing up here in Las Vegas, and I was told if I'm walking down the street, and I'm walking down and I see a Protestant church over there, I have to go to the other side of the street so I don't walk in front of that Protestant church building. So what does that teach an 8-year-old kid? That house of prayer is evil. Evil people go in, evil people go out, and I walk by, I might get caught up in that evil. How horrible. Oh, some of you might remember a TV show based in LA called House Party, and the host was Art Linkletter. And every once in a while they'd have children on the show, and that section was called Kids Say the Darndest Things. And there was some of the funniest things kids could ever say. Well, one time he had a group of Catholic school kids from a Catholic school in LA, and he asked them their favorite Bible story. They all told their favorite Bible story, and one little girl said, my favorite Bible story is Adam and Eve. So she told the whole story, and after they ate the forbidden fruit, Art Linkletter said, and what did God do? She said, God punished them. Real mean face. And he said, well, how did God punish them? She said, God turned them into Protestants. Isn't that awful? So that's terrible. And we've come a long, long way. In fact, this past week, Pope Leo met with King Charles and Queen Camilla in the Sistine Chapel, probably the holiest Catholic chapel in the world, with 2 Anglican archbishops. The last time anything was done like that was 500 years ago. It takes a long while to reconcile, huh? Anglican people are not bad people. Protestants aren't bad people. If we think we're better than them, then we're like that Pharisee. We should never think we're better than others. There's still religious prejudice today, not as strong as it was, thanks to Vatican II, between Catholics and Protestants. But sometimes people of other religions think they're better. whatever that religion might be. Aren't we all God's children? Isn't God the creator of every single human being? Didn't Jesus say, I have other sheep of another flock? Maybe we say, well, we're the flock of Christians. I don't know what those other flocks are, but Jesus said, they're mine. They belong to me. Didn't he say, whatever you give to someone who's hungry, whatever you give to someone who's thirsty, whomever you welcome as a stranger, whomever you visit in prison and the sick, come into heaven. I don't care where you went to on weekends, what temple or mosque or church you went to. If you were good to others, then come into the kingdom. That's how we should all feel. And so I pray that we don't have that religious prejudice at all, that we don't think other people are less than us. We need to be humble and say we're all God's children. We worship in different ways, and hopefully we all are trying to live our lives to be good, to be honest, to be helpful and caring, and so on. But there's other types of prejudice that still exist in our world today. I could name many. Being prejudiced against people of color, or people of a different background, people of a different sexual orientation. But to me, the most painful one today is the political division that is going on right now in our country. One party thinking they're better than the other party, even hating people of the other political party. In fact, I've heard confessions, and every once in a while someone from this party or the other party, doesn't matter which party, they will confess, I hate the people of the other party. They know that's wrong, so they're confessing it. And we may disagree, but we're all Americans, whether we belong to this party or that party. Don't we all want the best for our country? Can't we agree to disagree? Do we hate each other? Do we kill each other over our political differences? That's what Jesus was talking about. Stop judging others. Be a little bit humble. Look in the mirror and see how you can be a better person. Don't worry about the other person. The tax collector was so humble. I wonder if Jesus had written a chapter 2 to this parable. Chapter 2 would be the tax collector used to gouge people, a higher percentage than the Romans said he could. But after his visit in the temple, asking God to be merciful to him, sinner though he was, maybe he changed his lifestyle. Maybe he exacted just the percentage the Roman Empire said he could, because he had a salary. He had perhaps wife and children to take care of, and it was a legitimate salary, unpopular though it may be. Because he realized, God loves me. God forgives me. God is merciful. Let's try to get rid of prejudice in our life, no matter what lines it goes on, religion, nationality, whatever, and realize I can only work on myself. I can become a better person. You know, none of us are perfect. None of us have it all figured out. We are sinners on the way to becoming saints. There's no saint in the canonized list that was ever perfect. He or she were human just like us. They made the mistakes we've made. I don't think I'm better than you because I'm a priest. I'm just like you. Every once in a while someone comes and asks me to say a prayer. Will you pray for my mother who's going into surgery? Pray for my child who's really sick? And if I remember, I'll say, I will, on one condition, that you also pray. I don't have a red telephone with a hotline to God. I'm just like you. And when 2 or 3 gather together, our prayer is even stronger. So together we'll pray for your mother. Together we'll pray for your child, whatever. That's what it's all about. We are one family, God's family. And please, let us stop judging others. That's called prejudice, bigotry, bias, discrimination. That doesn't belong in the life of any Catholic person. May we not be like the Pharisee who thinks we're better than someone else just because of our religious practices, going to Mass 9:30 every Sunday, whatever. That doesn't make us better. We need God. All of us need God. May we be more like the tax collector and say with all humility, oh my God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Please repeat after me. O God, be merciful to me, a sinner.